Hi, welcome to the Pints Polishing Podcast. I'm Marshall. That's Nick. You can find us at hypercleanstore.com. Go check out the products or interact with us over at the Facebook group, HyperClean Specialist on Facebook. Nick, I'm getting into some fancy dance. This is a hazy IPA from Skydance Brewery. It has become one of my favorites. Not every time, though, when I go to the liquor store, they actually have it. So I saw it today. I was like, I'm in. I'm going to do some fancy dance, and I'm buying. I'm buying again this week. You know, it is what it is. Have you ever had those moments where you just know that you're going to get something right? You, you just having this feeling. Maybe
Yeah.
call it a connection, right? Like, so I'm at the store. It's Friday night. Dinner duties on me. It's cold. I go lo mein. I'm thinking lo mein, but I go, you know what? I'm going to go steak lo mein. Go into the steak aisle if there's an aisle, right? Like I'm at the steak place, butcher, whatever, and something catches my eye. Now, your favorite is the ribeye,
Oh yeah.
and it's the ribeye prime, right?
Yeah.
That's your go-to.
Yep.
Well, I go, hey, listen, I'm on lo mein. I look over and I see this choice cut
Oh yeah.
of ribeye, and I go, hold on a second here, dude. I am buying now choice cut ribeye. Here's
Yeah.
why. You take the fat around. The reason why I don't think it makes prime is because it doesn't have enough marble in that middle cut, right?
100%.
The I don't like the fat marble. It's not, I don't. I would rather eat the meat. Everybody goes fat's flavor. I get it. But high cholesterol, I just got to do what I can. So, should I be eating the ribeye in general? No. But if I can cut out some of that fat, I'm in. So that choice cut ribeye, damn it. Like, I'm in. I got a 2-pack
Yeah.
for $30, threw it in, did a sear on it, and cut it up, and we just snacked on it before we even got to the lo mein. And
Oh
then
yeah.
when you put it in the lo mein, man, I mean, solid. Choice cut ribeye, I'm buying. I'm in.
Yeah. I mean, here's where my personal feeling on that is any type of ribeye is better than any other cut of meat, right? So if you can get choice, I'd rather have choice ribeye than prime fillet. Prime fillet, I mean, my family told me they went to this like steakhouse in Houston, which is like one of the up and coming steakhouses, supposed to be phenomenal. It's right down the street from their house. I'm like, what'd you get? When they told me filet, I couldn't have been more disappointed. I was like, what do you mean? You went to the best steakhouse, one of the up and coming steakhouses in the US, and you guys got the filet? So to me, choice ribeye beats most other prime cuts. And, again, for all you that don't think I know what I'm talking about, just talk to an elite chef. They're going to point you to the ribeye. Everybody knows that's the Cadillac of steaks. And so, yeah, you're not going to hear me say anything bad about choice.
No,
So if you can get choice, get choice.
it was great. It was tender, and I didn't have all the fat. Like that's why I was like, "Oh my word, my connection has happened." Like I have found my cut of steak.
Yeah,
Like that is
100%.
my go-to now.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm going to have back-to-back weeks of selling here.
Oh
I'm on the road. Your boy is out here grinding on the road, grinding away. In nice 85-degree weather here in Phoenix. And I don't have very many mishaps when I travel. Got a lot of status. I was A1 on Southwest today. First seat, first person. Great. Not a fan of Southwest, but it's a 45-minute flight, so no big deal. So here we go. I get to the rental counter. And
hold
for
on,
those that
what's
don't
wrong with
know,
Southwest? Besides the A1 thing, and you could possibly be like D69, right? Like
I don't like how small the seats are. That's
no.
the problem I have with
The
Southwest.
people are the
Overall,
best
it's good.
though.
What's
Like
that?
the people of Southwest,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
they
they're the
do a
best.
great
They
job
make
service wise.
the funnest flights ever.
Yeah, yeah, they're great. So I just don't like the seats on Southwest. To be
Yeah.
clear, Southwest has been fine, but here's where we're at. So I've turned into Ricky Rental here the last week because I got a car in a body shop. So I had to get a rental car in Vegas for my family. And then I go to the rental counter here and I go, yeah, here's my reservation. And they go, looks like you already have your rental car in Las Vegas. I'm like, no, I have a rental car in Las Vegas. I had to rent one because we got in an accident. That was through insurance. So I need to rent one here. Here's the confirmation. Oh, no, you can't have 2 rental cars at a time.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, 2 rental cars. Let me give you the thing I'm selling. The chick looks right at me, dead serious, and goes, and don't go to Alamo and don't go to this one and don't go to that one. They won't let you rent one either. I'm like, how would they even know? She goes, well, I'm just telling you, don't go there. So the next one over is National. I go to National, hand them my ID. They go, yeah, just pick any car you want. So I walked back and I
Yeah.
did the wave with the paperwork.
Yeah.
I'm like, it was the weirdest 3 minutes you could have at a rental car counter, right?
Huh.
Because what are we talking about here? I'm just trying to rent a car. Who cares if I have a rental car in Las Vegas? Who cares if I want to rent 10 cars at a time and just want to sit them in my driveway? What would
I
you
don't know.
care?
Is there anything worse though when you're sitting at a rental car place and there's one person at the counter and there's 10 of you in the line and you're like
yeah, that's horrible.
number 7 and you're like, oh God. You look over and all these other people are nothing, no lines, nothing's and you're like, man, do I get out of line?
Well,
I've already got a
here's what
reservation.
happened, Marty. I thought it was a glitch in the system. It wouldn't let me check in for my rental car. You know how you can check in beforehand and just walk down there and get a rental car? So I got status. So I'm thinking to myself, why can't I check in? So I said, that's how I led with her. I said, hey, I've been trying to check into my rental car. She goes, let me check. Oh, you already got it in Vegas. I'm like, no, I didn't.
Here I am.
I said, no, I needed it here at Phoenix Airport. And it's great. Phoenix Airport's one of the best places to rent a car, by the way. You just take the tram and it literally dead ends into rental car center. So you just walk into the center that has all the rental car places. It's perfect. So I'm just cruising along. It's nice and sunny. I'm like, oh, this is going to be a breeze. Wasn't a breeze. And when she tried to clown me at the front, like, hey, don't go there or there. They won't let you rent either. I was like, what? Came out of the blue.
Yeah, those are the crazy times. You ever been when the bad inclement weather, you're at the airport and that's what they try and say? I made a break one time over to one of the other ones because I didn't think and sure enough, they ran out over here, ran out over there, and there was only a few. I think it was budget or something. I found one, and there was a few people after me that got one, and then they were done. And then people are like, wait, I got a reservation. Like, we ain't got cars. You're like, oh.
Yeah. Well, the wild thing here is, Marty, when I went to pick up the car, there was about 8 billion of them. So for her not to rent one, I don't know who her manager is, but he can't be thrilled.
Well, there's a lot of people they're loving right now. It's fun to see the amount of Sparta pictures going inside of the hyperCLEAN specialist group. We got people loving everything that's going on with Sparta when they're applying it. We got a guy that put it on his dad's truck. Dave put it on a Tesla, but we all really want to know, right? Bill said, you guys hit a home run with Sparta, but Nick, did Chrysler hit a home run with the Pacifica?
Hey, your boy driving a minivan. I've been enjoying the hell out of today. So anyway, I got a Chrysler Pacifica as the rental, and I'm going to say this again: people are sleeping on vans. They're sleeping on them. Seat 7, so it seats as many as a Suburban or Expedition or whatever. Comfortable. Now, vans have come a long way, Marty. So I'm going to say that if you're a true car guy, you're a wagon guy. Okay, that's been like the secret car thing.
What you said, yeah. And I've said my deal with wagons is that old station wagon. I just never got wagon out of my mind when it comes station wagon out of my mind when it comes to wagon. Like the Audi wagon where they put the cool little, I think what's fascinating about the wagon people is to really solidify themselves as I'm a car guy, wagon guy. I'm going to put the, luggage carrier on top, even though I'm just cruising down the road.
Yeah.
That luggage carrier is going to be on there no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, but look, you got an AMG wagon that has like what 650 horsepower. You now have the RS6 with Audi. You have old Nomad wagons, which were phenomenal, especially if they were restored properly. So the wagon got a bad rap. And by the way, the old brick Volvo wagon, if you got the R edition, great wagon. I'm going to say this now. People sleeping on the van. And by the way, the guy that was involved with all the stuff with Fast and the Furious has come out recently on my side saying the coolest car you can drive is a van. That's the coolest car right now. I've been telling everybody if you go to SEMA, the coolest builds you see are the vans. I want people to be aware of something. Vans were not cool all the time.
Okay, was it Astro?
Astro,
Like, you remember,
Astro,
like, and you would
oh,
open
horrible.
that, you would have to pull that lever, and it would like like
Yep.
coming down the side. It was
And if
always
your finger was caught in there or something, it was like it was going to get chopped off. I'm
and
with
how
you.
many times did then the door get stuck on the other side
Yep.
when you're trying to pull it? I mean, of course, Vans had horrible. Now, what I find fascinating, Vans, what they did so well at was the button that does the automatic. They knew, okay,
We got
how
to
can we
solve this
not have
problem.
the? How can we exactly? How can we not fix paint problems that GMC has? How can we not fix transmission problems, Dodge?
Yep.
Right? How can but Van can fix their door problem?
And
Like,
here's the thing: now it's on the key, so you can just hit the button on the key, and when you walk up, both the doors will open, and it can open on both sides, which wasn't always the case. It was only one side on the passenger side. I'm with you. Vans weren't always cool. I will say this: this is probably going to disqualify me from buying a van, and I'm very particular about this, which is why I'm an AMG fan and respect what they've done. The only thing that doesn't work for me in the van world, I don't like the seating position. The seats in vans when you're driving around, not the most comfortable. So if you drive a Suburban around and you're the driver, pretty comfortable. You drive a Navigator, pretty comfortable. You drive a van, it
the
doesn't
shift.
have that. Yeah, it doesn't have that maneuverability, right? So
It's too much
that,
soccer mom, right?
yeah, it's a
They've
little
got
bit
that
too. Yeah,
durability aspect they gotta worry about.
yeah. So look, and I'm real particular, and I know there's going to be a lot of people be like, "Well, I love my van. Cool, man. I'm on your side." The problem I may have, I'm a little bit of a bigger guy. I really take the seating. You know, probably one of the reasons I have always been an Audi, BMW kind of guy is their interiors are so on point. When AMG made all those changes to their seat, and they have the best seats in the game now. It's a silly thing with me, but the seating is really important. That's why some of the BMW competition stuff with these like Recaro seats with the big hump in the middle, it's like, dude, if you're of any size at all, it's not comfortable to drive around in, right? It's just too small. I'm too wide to have those seats be comfortable. So I was noticing today, spent a couple hours in the van driving around Phoenix. I'm like, I might disqualify this, but high level stitching on the seats, all leather, great infotainment. The one thing about this Pacifica that I could see me doing on a road trip, the volume knob is about 3 millimeters away from the shift knob. I could see me trying to turn the radio on and off and shifting down to neutral by accident because that knob is so close. I caught myself a couple times. I was like trying to turn the radio up, and I'm like, "Uh oh, what's going on here? Oh, wait a minute, that's not it." That's a little bit of a design flaw. It's a little, I mean, Marty, it's like literally a couple millimeters away. The volume knob for the radio and the shift knob to go into park and neutral, a little too close. Chrysler's probably going to work on that in the future, I'd have to say.
All right, so who else you gonna see there? I need to get a hold of some of these shops that you're gonna be at. And I think you got some clubs, some car clubs you're gonna go see. I need to have them check your card. I mean, there was a moment. There's a moment when it came to minivans where people really started to question the man card.
Yeah.
It was a real deal.
Yeah.
Do we need to? Do I need to call the club that you're going to go see and
Hey,
have them check
all of
the
them are
car? I
welcome to
mean,
say anything they want to my face, and I'll bet you'll get none of that. That'd be my guess. And by the way, the people I visited today made a comment. They go, "Hey, those are pretty sweet." I'm like, "I hear you. I hear you. Check this one out." So
but yet nobody drives them. Why not? Why are
No,
you
I
not
agree
going
with
to go
you.
back to Vegas and buy a minivan?
I think if the seating was different, I'd buy one. I think the seating was different, I'd buy one. Look, I need another family vehicle. This whole rental thing, nobody wants to
There's
learn
a
how to drive a
stigma,
stick.
though. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, oh yeah.
would the rest of your family be okay, or
Well, my
you
family.
would just do it?
Hey, I grew up in a different time. If you have a problem, we have a backyard. If you want to run your mouth, you want to take that risk. We can do that.
You want to get your own
Uh,
vehicle? Go ahead and get your own vehicle.
yeah, no,
You would
I
roll
do
around
think I.
Vegas in a minivan. Let's say we get you custom seats. You're going to roll around Vegas in a minivan. Did you really just say
Hey,
that?
I'm safe. Look, I'm confident in myself. I think I think you could trick these things out. I think people would be jealous. And look, Lexus, one of the shops I was at today, he showed me the picture. Lexus has this new van coming out. The back seat looks like a Maybach. I mean, the amount of space. If you're just talking about the most efficient way to move 7 passengers, there's no question it's the minivan. I mean, are we all on the same page there? Plenty of storage space, plenty of seating space. You got 2 captain's chairs, whatever. I do think I'm going to end up Sequoia, uh, you know, Expedition, Suburban. I think that's where I'm going to land. Be very, very upfront about it because having to get a rental car because my family doesn't want to learn how to drive a stick shift, I just can't. I can't have this. It's been way too inconvenient for me. So I need a second family vehicle. Uh, I just think people are sleeping on them. That's all. And I'd be completely confident driving it around. You tint it up, maybe get some decent wheels on it. Maybe lower it an inch or two. I think you're riding around in something that looks pretty cool. I
All
mean, and
right.
by the way, what I saw at SEMA back to back years, the coolest stuff there was these van builds.
So, everybody that's listening that's inside the specialist group, you all know that there's one person there in particular that's going to pose a question. Would you drive the van or would you drive a? But instead, he asked, hey, if you got scratches behind the handle of the car, how do you get them out?
Yeah.
How do you, right? Like, let's think through that. Are you the sand guy? You're going to grab some sandpaper, hit those real quick, and then just throw some compound on a pad and finger it, maybe an
Yeah.
applicator pad, the finger type of maneuver. Uh, when do you start putting and suggesting for people to do that? Is that a thing that you do? The little fingernail guards
Attachment.
with PPF? At what point do
Yeah,
you
like
start doing
door
that?
cups. Yeah, door cups. I mean, would be. I hate how they look. But look, I kind of said this on the post. I've removed enough door handles because when you do full PPF, you should be removing door handles. Usually, it's pretty easy to do. If you're doing a really elaborate correction, 2 step, 3 step, somebody's paying for, I just remove them and polish that area. It is a lot easier than you think. Most of the door panels now just pop off. You see people are bottom loading tint now at most shops, which means they're popping door panels every day. It's not that big a deal to remove the handle. I know it can be scary to some people. If you're not comfortable, don't do it. Door cups are just not my answer. I can't stand how they look. I mean, I would just be embarrassed to have. I can't stand them. They're a great idea, but I just hate how they look. So I would just PPF the whole door. If it were my car, and again, that's kind of how we talk on this podcast. What would I do if it were my car? If you're just doing a 1 step correction, man, and it's really bad under there, yeah, man, the microfiber towel with some compound, a 3-inch pad with some compound on it, and kind of use your hand and get under there. Those are all, and again, you got the tools now, that you can have those extensions on your polisher. That's an option as well if you're doing a lot of that work. But if you really have an extensive correction lined up, I just tell you to remove that door handle. It's way easier than you think.
Oh yeah, good call. I was fascinated. You said it, and I went. All of them started running back through my head. I mean, all the little trinketly tools that you can put on a rotary buffer and run this little line and have it. There's so many people that have started to come out with these small edge type things, and that never crossed my mind until you said it. It was like, yeah, that that makes a lot more sense than my old school style of let's throw some compound on a applicator
Yeah,
pad and try to rub it in there, right? Like,
yeah, no, I mean, look, there's a lot of ways. I mean, I've gotten great results with finger polishing on a lot of different spots. I mean, sometimes it's what you got to do. And if you're in a position that you don't have all these tools, or you're not, somebody that wants to take a door panel apart, even though it's much easier now, I completely understand that. So just put some compound on a towel on an applicator, take a 3-inch pad, whichever one you've been doing correction with, and get it up under there. I mean, you can do a lot of things. So don't disqualify yourself just because you don't have like all the perfect options. There's a lot of stuff you can do just to get by.
Hey, so we have an answer for your bad parking. And it was an official business card that got made up of letting somebody know of their bad parking. Like, I'm so excited for that now of all the bad parking. That's why I posted one. Like, this guy posted, he almost in a sense did what you wanted him to do, go right down the middle of the line, but he covered up 4 parking spots for one truck. Like, that's what I think is going to be fun, is everybody's going to start posting all the different bad parking. There's nonstop bad parking everywhere. Love seeing Ben, I think, posted all those different license plates that people got denied of.
Yeah.
That's fun. What is not fun, though, is seeing Brandon say he spent an hour trying to blow dry some cracks. Like, wow, a 2024 Expedition. Everybody else started chiming in with, oh, have you seen this? Have you seen that? You've said a particular car that you and I both know is one of the notorious worst ones. Well, let's come down to it. Was it process here for Brandon? Let's put Brandon in the hot seat. What did Brandon do? Right. We don't know. Like,
Yeah.
but it does come down to your blower. What blower do you use? People have asked us about our Ryobi blower. Listen, we were sent that to us by
Yeah.
Ryobi. Do we spot? It's not something we publicly say, go get it. We actually say, and we talked to him about it, it's kind of underpowered. Like, hey,
Yeah.
you really should get more air moving than this.
Yeah. I mean, what I found is, especially the cracks in the areas on the back, or if it's a driver's side with the mirror, opening and closing the door as much as you can would be my first thing.
I mean, so you just stand
Slamming
there
it.
and slam it back and forth
I
10
mean,
times?
not like don't slam it to where you're going to break the glass, but I mean, open and close it, slam it, get some air moving in there, get some things moving around. But look, man, you got Wagoneer, you got Navigator, you got Escalade. All of these are notoriously, as SUVs got bigger and they're the size they are now, trucks, all these kinds of things. You have just more plastic, you have more edges, you have more places for water to hide. And if you got to coat a car, I mean, I feel your pain, right? Like, you got to get the water out of there. I mean, you just have to get the water out of there. And this is where, look, if I'm doing a lot of cars at my shop, you're going Metrovac, which has heated air. You're going, a big compressor, so you can get one of those straight air tips and get it really in there and kind of move some stuff out of there. I
Ooh,
mean,
hold on. No, hold on. There's some dealerships in Oklahoma City that I would go to, and somebody in Oklahoma City started teaching people to use that air chuck. And of course, they had this massive compressor because everybody in the entire dealership used it. But these guys would put an air chuck on, and you could hear it, and
oh,
especially when you
it
walked in, it was
squeals.
just like, oh, this is terrible. It was one of the
Yeah.
worst places to be at, but I love it. It was a Ford dealership. They were some of the best guys. Taylor, there was his manager, and we had a joke all the time. He was a great dude. But I would laugh and joke with him because it's like, there's no way that you guys think that this is faster. Using a small little air chuck and go around every crack of the outside of the vehicle.
Yeah, no, it's not. But for a troubled area is what I was getting at. For a trouble area, being able to move that fine of a really high powered air can help you in those spots you're having trouble with. Never do the whole car. That'd take you forever. But a troubled spot, it could work well.
Dude,
Okay,
it
it could work
was
well.
so loud.
Yeah, I mean, and by the way, it makes the worst sound. It like makes
Oh,
that high pitched
terrible.
squeal
Uh-huh.
sound. It's
Yeah.
horrible. But again, go back to that old Escalade with the big long emblem on the back that was all one piece. I mean,
Brutal.
really high powered air directly was the only thing that was going to get the stuff out of there. And then constantly moving that back tailgate up and down and kind of slamming it on its hinge was the only way to kind of dislodge some of that stuff that was sticking in there.
Were you ever a LinkedIn guy?
I never got into it really.
I I think a moment where I tried to get into it, I just never felt our industry or, the car care industry. I think dealerships heavy in there, but product wise, never was a big deal. But this weekend, I spent one of those moments where I'm looking at my phone. Do you categorize or do you have just 10 screens of all these different apps, or do you put them into folders that are categorized?
No, my phone's organized,
Yep,
super organized.
I got most my screens, most are categorized and in folders and that. So I'm clicking onto the social folder and I'm just, I'm wasting some time after watching Kansas City dominate. That was great to see that second half. All right, here we go. Second half of the other game though, that was quite interesting. Anyway, it's going to be a fun Super Bowl for one side. Go Midwest.
Here
Anyway,
in
here
Vegas.
we go. I'm looking at my phone and I'm digging through stuff and I go, LinkedIn. I haven't looked at LinkedIn for a while.
Yeah.
I have to click on it. It's got to reopen, do all that stuff. And I go, connections. It's such an interesting thing that LinkedIn did. They show you how far out you're connected from somebody, first party, second party, third party connections. Well, we got to ask a question. It's a very interesting question. Hey, who offers wheel repair? And especially if you're mobile, right? Very few guys, if you're detailing, should you get and learn wheel repair, right? I mean, that's
Right.
not one of those, that doesn't really cross over too well. But shouldn't you have some connections like LinkedIn shows, like 1, 2, 3? Like, I totally had people in my phone that I knew that knew people that I could call, and I had a connection that I could make if I needed something.
Yeah, 100%. And this goes for tint and PPF and everything, right? I mean, if you don't do those things, it's always good to be able to point somebody in a direction. And that doesn't mean you're vouching for another company. I always kind of do it like this. Hey, I've seen some of this guy's work. He's worth giving a call. Here's a way to point you in a direction. You can also bring that in house if you have a shop and you can subcontract that out. You get into a little bit of a sticky situation at times if somebody can't perform. But I looked into wheel repair. Matter of fact, one of my
Well, hold
biggest
on.
meetings
So
around wheel repair was at MTE Vegas.
this guy particularly was a mobile guy. So and he's even asking, like, hey, if I'm mobile, I'm going to say you should have that connection in your phone, no matter you're a shop or a mobile guy, for
Well, yeah, no.
somebody
What I
to
was saying is
fix
you
some
could bring
wheels.
it into your shop, but not actually do the work yourself.
Uh, okay, agreed. But I wouldn't, if I'm a mobile guy and I know somebody has some wheels that need fixed, I'm not going to pawn that off though. I'll make sure that we take care of it. I'm just
Yeah.
going to have connections lined up so I can get somebody over to fix that wheel.
So I've done that for a variety of things in my career, and what I found as I got bigger is it became a sticking point a lot of times, right? Because if I
You
couldn't
don't want
get
to
the
have,
guy
yeah,
there, so here's the deal.
makes
I
sense.
do have some vendors that are reliable that I have a dent guy that's really great, works on his own, super professional. I can have him go out, act like he'll even put one of my shirts on. Like, if I wanted him to. I don't really care, but he's that kind of guy. So I have been burned and had it work out. I've had both. It is just tough. And that's why I kind of went towards hey, man, here's a great guy to call. They do good work. And that's all I ever based it on. Do they do good work? Did I see good work? I mean, the wheel repair thing, when I looked into it, and I think that's what this guy was asking, is it worth it? I think somebody asked if leather repair was worth chasing. Those are very heavily reliant on dealership relationships. That is where 90% of that business is coming from. You may see a lot of customers that have curb rash on their rims. That doesn't mean they're going to pay you what you need to be paid to fix them. Okay? They may want them fixed until they get the price to do it right. Right? So you need to remember that. And when people ask me about leather repair, I go, okay, when you give them the price, it's most likely they're going to back out. Okay? But a dealership, when they need to have ripped leather fixed, they need it fixed. They're going to get it fixed. And so those are those relationships. And I know a really great leather guy in Los Angeles, been doing it 40 years. He literally has like 10 dealerships he does. And most of it's high end work, right? Bentley, Maserati, those guys make a killing, but they're like the top echelon. And so when guys ask these questions, which I think is great, there's a bunch of money in wheel repair, but the guys really making the money are basically only doing wheel repair. And so there's a guy in Vegas on Monday, he's at this dealership. On Tuesday, he's at this dealership. And what those dealerships do is when a car comes in for service, they'll tell that person, hey, we booked you an appointment to fix your wheels. Please bring your car back, July 3rd, and we'll have the wheels repaired for you. So they'll pull them off. They'll do all that. They'll bill the customer. You'll get paid by the dealership. I really looked hard into this. I really did, because I was seeing so many screwed up wheels. But you got to be committed to the wheel business usually to make it worth your time. Like doing one off, once a month, it seems like, well, I could make a quick $300, but you need all the equipment, you need all the know-how, plus you need the paint, plus you need all, with all the different types of rims now, you really need a good trailer setup if you're going to do that mobily. And some of those trailers are real expensive because they straighten the rims, they do everything.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you're kind of getting into, if you want to do quality work, you're going to have to put some time into this thing, and it's not going to be something you go into willy-nilly. But is there money in it? Hell yeah, there's money in it. But most of the time it's done at the dealership level. Even a boutique dealership that deals in high-end cars, those are the kinds of companies that use mostly wheel repair.
So you and I joke internally, and we actually have taken some time publicly, on the podcast to joke publicly about things people put out on social, things people say. Like, it's just wild. The things now that I'm seeing, and, listen, this weekend was full of it. It was insane to see what was put out on social, and insane to see how many people still wonder, do I use a topper for coating? Like, that's one of the biggest insane things that I've never understood with coating since it came out. There's strict rules in a sense of, hey, you got to let the coating sit. It's got to have a time where it is protected in a sense of, it's got to do its thing. It can't have water for 24 hours. It can't get washed with high, chemicals for a couple weeks. Like, these are very, very structured ways of working with the coating. So to see over the years what people put out, and then to see it even more and more recently of, hey, can I top a coating with a topper? Like, hold on, what are we talking about here? And this is probably something that's, you and I keep doing this. This will always be a question we come back to. But we have to make a stance, just as others make stances for things, and go, hey, when somebody's saying put a water-based spray on a product that you just applied that's not supposed to get wet for 24 hours, let's use some common sense reasoning here. Like,
Yeah. Well, I think the word topper, let's make sure we don't mislead people either. Should you use a topper on a coating? Yeah, it's a great thing to use every 6 months, 3 months, every year, if it's actually a coating product, right? So you maintain your coating with a water-based product, every couple weeks or every month or whatever. But we have a product that's in development now that's actually going to be able to go an extra mile, and that will be considered a topper. Okay. What we're
good point.
specifically talking
Good
about
point.
here, what
Oh,
we're talking about here is the immediate use after application and the topper question that continues to come up, right? I'm going to put this coating down and I'm going to add all this extra protection by putting a water based spray on it 5 minutes after I applied it, or an hour after I applied it, or 2 hours after I applied it.
and here's the most strangest thing that you hear people say, well, I'm protecting the coating.
No, it's not how it works. And again, this is where we've had problems with the detailing world as a whole. When you say everything's a ceramic, you confuse people on what actual ceramic is, right? There's the best evidence of it. And so when people are frustrated about not understanding ceramic coatings, you can trace that back to, well, if I walk to O'Reilly's and 10 products on the shelf say ceramic, that's where the confusion comes from. And so now we have a real question. Toppers are a great thing when done properly. They can reinvigorate the coating. They can actually add back into the coating system. They're not actually just going to sit on top. They're going to reinvigorate, reapply some coating in a sense to go at any weak spots, which is what we're trying to develop. And I think the thing that everybody has to understand is we're talking specifically about topping a coating right after application. And so to me, that's not a topper. You and I were with a certain coating brand very early on that their best product was their topper. That's the best product they've ever had. And that product was awesome. Whether it was already on a coating or as a standalone, you have to admit that was a great product. Okay. So we get into these places, and I think people have a really hard time understanding. And I get why they haven't, because we just throw words around willy nilly. And we make everything this universal word, and it means everything to everybody. When you apply a coating from any company, if you're being told immediately to put something water-based on within the first 24 to 48 to 72 hours, I couldn't run fast enough away from that coating system. That's the point we're actually getting to here. But should you top your coating when you maintain it, a month down the road, a year down the road? Absolutely. Absolutely. And for the biggest reason is you want your car to look its best. That's why you're doing it. You want to prevent marring when you're running the towel over the surface. You want to provide a little extra protection because you're already there washing your car anyway, right? So hey man, I'm going to throw something on. It's going to give it a little pop, going to give it a little bit of help, going to give it a little bit of protection. Hey man, we do the detailing thing because we are a little overkill about our vehicles. But this topping right after application was never something I was even taught. But what seemed to happen is somewhere along the line, some coating company, I have no idea which one, this was a part of their process to set themselves apart, and it started to confuse everybody. Just like when you go to O'Reilly's and there's 52 products to say the word ceramic on it. So now nobody knows what an actual ceramic product is. And so that's the way we need to look at this, is that somewhere along the line, this got into the ether, so to speak. This got into the world, and it's confused people. So don't confuse an actual topper with using a topper 2 seconds after application of a coating, but because you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah. Good clarification. Good clarification. Yeah. Well done. Are you like me? Like, I'm sure most of us were sitting on the couch, in the weekend, whether we're watching a game, movie, whatever. Like, there's that moment where people pick up their phone, they start kind of looking at stuff, and you can see they're into something. And then they do that, like, oh, look at this. Right. And you get shown this IG post, and it's an influencer or groupie. Now relax. It's not from our industry. So everybody take a deep breath here. This was a groupie from another industry,
Take a deep breath.
the house cleaning industry, right? And this guy says, you can charge more when you bring your customers more value. Now, that should have and is probably something that was copied from the detail groupies that we see nonstop throughout social media groups. But there's this idea that if you bring more value to people, then you can charge more. Value is a word that you and I have talked about. And so there was a moment where when I got shown this, I went, yeah, I can see that, but there's this massive gray area that I think as you and I have continued this discussion of value and bringing value to people, what really is valuable?
Yeah, I'm going to say this for me. Every time I got off a podcast and you and I talked about value, I was never really that happy with how I spoke about it because I thought it was so gray. It's such a gray area, and it's such a hard word to define. And I really mean that. Like, you and I find it hard to tell people how to add value, right? Because so many people are running so many different types of businesses in so many different types of areas all across the country. It's such a general term. It's very hard to get people, very hard to explain for me. I find it very difficult. Maybe I'm just not bright enough. That could actually be the truth. I just don't think it's that black and white. I think it's really hard to separate what I feel the word really means in our culture. And everybody's walked to the store and seen that great value brand. And hey, come to our store. We have a lot of value. And it's always got this undertone of cheap in society, not in detailing necessarily or house cleaning or plumbing, but value to the consumer seems to mean cheap. And so when then you try to explain it from a business sense and you're trying to say provide value to an expensive client, well, expensive clients may never actually think of the word value because value is kind of assessed from this cheap place, right? In society as a whole. Now, I know that's, again, you guys feel like I'm maybe in a gray area and I'm not explaining it very well, but I think we need to replace the word value with quality. We want to do business with quality people.
So
We want to provide a high quality service.
let's think about that for a second before we get. Let's hold on a second. So, because we've got to unpack that before. So many people think value, and you're right. This is the ironic part of it. Value is tossed around so much, but then you're absolutely right. You go to the grocery store, you want to get some green beans.
Yeah.
Many of us have been there. I was there for a long time. I bought the cheaper green beans that said, ironically,
Value.
now we talk about value, but the great value was the green beans that were the cheapest. And what value was there? The value was in the stems, I guess. Like the amount of stems that were in these green beans. Like I didn't realize that green beans didn't come with stems and stuff until you got over to what was that, Green Giant and some of those
Yeah.
other
Something better.
brands that cost
Yeah.
double. Like, wait a second here. Like,
Yeah.
oh. And so
That's
you really do
really
start to
tough.
ask the question, what does value mean? What is valuable? We think that maybe a diamond ring is valuable, but no, people don't. You're right. Like high quality and high people like that don't think of a value. Low
No.
quality people seem to do though. Like let's think about that for a second. Why do we think of low value, meaning low quality people? Well, because how many of us saw those 60% off at Black Friday and thought, wow,
Yeah.
this is a great value because I'm getting such a great deal?
Yeah. It's just a connotation around it, right? Every time we hear the word value, besides when you say that's a valuable car, right? That's a valuable ring. But what's behind valuable is some type of quality, right? Even if you look at, we had Super Saturday at Barrett Jackson down here at Phoenix on Saturday. Okay, it's the highlight of really kind of what I would call the classic car, time of year. This is the biggest event. They call it Super Saturday. And people will be very dumbfounded by some of the values of those cars. Well, what's behind really valuable cars is somebody sees a quality in them, right? So low production. There's only 500 of them made, 200 of them have been destroyed. There's only 300 of these left. Another 50 of them have low mileage. It has a quality of rare, low mileage. There's 50 left in the world. Therefore, it becomes valuable. Right? You go to the 80s and 90s AMG boom we have going on now. Why? Well, that was pre-merger with Mercedes. So there's a quality in those cars that people are assessing to get to a valuable state, right? So maybe all this time as business people, we've been using the wrong word.
Hmm.
That value is and it's so out of any of our control, right? I didn't start the great value brand at the supermarket. You didn't start that. You didn't start customers saying, well, I want the value for my money. We didn't start that. It's just now in the ether. It's in the world. And the problem with the word value is it's kind of been hijacked by low quality things in society. So when we talk about it as business owners, and I have found it very difficult every time we've had this discussion. Find it very hard to put into words. And I think the reason I was struggling is the word value just never sat right with me. And now when I think about it, what I want to find is not how to provide value, but how to be seen as high quality by high quality individuals.
Okay. So we want to get the high quality individuals, and then we got to think about, well, what isn't? If I'm thinking what's not a high quality individual, and okay, well, who has the most egos in the overall, this was word industry is getting thrown around, which we're really struggling with that, as you
Yeah,
and I
we're all.
talk,
Yeah.
let's think of car care. Let's just say, car care. And there's a lot of big egos in car care. And this ego comes from really a lot of it. How much can you help somebody save? Or I've come from nothing using nothing, and I'm right and everybody else is wrong. And you
Yeah.
should dilute a degreaser 10-1 and go clean the interior because that's the best value to you. Like you said, it's kind of hijacked. Like there is this part of society that seems to promote cheapness and being as
Yeah.
cheap as you can to promote that you're having the best value because you've saved financially that much.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like that's why it's really hard for business owners to talk about value, right? Because as business owners, I don't care what kind of business you own. I don't it doesn't matter. You don't want the bargain shopper. I mean, if Walmart could
Hierarchy.
turn it if what's
Hierarchy.
that? Yeah, if Walmart could turn a key today and raise their price 75%, you don't think they would sign up to do that? Of course they would. They just can't, right? That's not in their
Best
ecosystem.
value. Okay.
Yeah, it's all about they're going to give you the best value. You're going to get more for less, and we're going to provide you this value. So it's just been hijacked, and there's nothing we can do about it. There's no reason to be mad about it. But maybe the conversation needs to revolve around having the know-how to spot quality. How do I buy a quality T-shirt? How do I buy a quality pair of shoes? How do I buy? How many consumers really think that way? Well, the high quality ones do. Right? They seem to have a way that they operate their life. And I can only say this from the things I've seen in my own personal life, from family and friends, and, so many other things, business associates, things that we've been in deals with. High quality individuals operate a certain way. And then there's this other group, which is probably the majority of the population, that's driven by I'm going to go to this restaurant because it's the cheapest one, and then I'm going to bitch that I didn't get a good meal. Why the high quality person goes, I'll go out less and I'll go to a higher quality restaurant when I go out. And I don't really have anything to complain about usually because it's a nice atmosphere and they have great food and they treat me really well. And so when we start to think about this, for all those guys getting their start, for the car owner listening to us that's becoming a more and more of an enthusiast, if you just say to yourself, I think we see this a lot with pressure washers. People would rather buy 10 cheap ones than just take all that money and buy one high quality one. Well, those individuals seem to be a certain way. They go through life a certain way. They're the 10-1 degreaser. Who cares if it burns every part of the interior? It saved me money. Brian, I think on our episode Saturday, made a really great point. People think they should be able to run their business for $0. I should never take a loss. I should never pay for anything. I can do everything cheaply. You're going to get a lower quality individual in your business because they can sense that. They can sense that you're using bleach and water on their interior. They can sense that you're not, they can smell the harsh chemicals when they get in, and they're not going to hire you again if they're a high quality person. One of the biggest reasons we developed Revive is because of my high quality customers. They don't want to smell a bunch of fragrance. They want their interior perfectly cleaned, left to be very natural, without a bunch of smell, without a bunch of dyes, without a bunch of nonsense. You can sit here and say that that isn't what you believe, but I've done business with very high quality and very low quality customers, and I can tell you what the high quality customers want. They don't want bubblegum scent in their $150,000 Range Rover. You've never found that person. I've never found that person.
Here,
And that's where you have to get at it.
here's an interesting thing. As you say that, like, do you think the byproduct of success is somebody who values value, or in a sense, they more think of quality, right? Like, this is the thing that I just, as the more I toss that back and forth in my mind, I go, what's a byproduct of success? Is the byproduct of success that, hey, I'm always getting the best value on something? We all know that guy. We might
Yeah.
have even had that guy as a customer, and you go, wait a second, you're driving a pretty good car here, but you're always looking for the next deal. Maybe that guy wasn't really successful. So the byproduct of success actually has to be the person who seeks out somebody else that sees quality, and not
Yeah.
somebody that seeks out, hey, how do I have the best price with the cheapest thing to do? Like, that actually is, as we begin to dissect it, we can see it from a customer that reaches out, and we see their car and we see what they try and do, and we go, wait a second, man. Like, hold on.
Yeah. You and I worked on a car at HQ, right? From a guy that seemingly has a good amount of money. Then we worked on another car with a guy that has seemingly a good amount of money. The way the cars looked, the way the cars were taken care of, the way those people talked to you and I when we were done with those cars, the way those people presented themselves, both had money. One presents himself as a high quality individual. His cars are on point, his cars are taken care of, his car's this, his car's that. The other person is driving around a Porsche Cayenne that's filthy. It looked like they'd rubbed crayons on the carpet. So here he's driving a nice vehicle, but he's a lower quality customer. Why? Because he's not as high quality an individual as this other guy. Both have seemingly around the same money.
Mm-hmm.
You can have high quality individuals that drive a Honda Civic. People hear the word high quality and they get really, I think some people get offended and say, you think you're talking always about the wealthy. That couldn't be further from the truth.
No.
High quality individual is going to take care of their things. They're going to buy the nicest thing they can afford. They're going to take care of their stuff. They're going to find the people that can do the job right the first time. That is a high quality individual. And I think this is where we can go into a story I've had in the last week. This is an interesting story because this guy bought a Mercedes camper van, one of those big like Overlander Sprinter vans. This is what he wants to do with his life. He wants to go mountain biking and he wants to go to these places. And we put some windshield film on.
I'm
It worked
in.
perfectly. Yeah, great.
Who wouldn't want that for their life? Let's go.
Nicest guy in the world, too, by the way. Never had an issue. Started to have an issue when his windshield film and it was time for replacement. Okay, you're showing me a little bit of this side. So we go into the replacement and we notice this van got PPF'd. And I'm like, well, I spent a lot of time giving you a price on this and I know we didn't do it. Then we start to look at the edges. And then he says, when he drops it off, he goes, hey, can you replace these two fenders? They're really starting to look worn. So we look at the fenders. I look at the fenders and I say to him, I go, these aren't worn. They were improperly installed. And there's dirt all in the edges because he went for the value. And the value in his mind was half the price, 60% actually, the price that I quoted.
For some people that are wondering, that's a term, right? In the edges. What does that mean?
Yeah. So basically what happens is, for those that are not in PPF, is one of the biggest reasons for failures on PPF is that if you don't wrap edges, this is best case scenario that everybody has seen is the partial hood. Okay, the
Yeah,
partial
what's a
hood.
wrapped edge? What's a part? Yeah.
Okay, it's a partial hood, and it's ugly, and you got that line across the hood, and you go, man, look at all that dirt in the edge. Well, what happens from dirt in the edge is not only does it look ugly, but it starts to lift the edge if it's not a high quality PPF as well. Even a high quality one will start to lift after time. So his PPF wasn't wearing out. The installation caused it to start lifting because dirt started to get into the edges. And then when he did wash it or he did have something hit it, it just kept wearing away and lifting up. And so our quote to him was 10,000. He paid 6. The 2 fenders within the first year we're now going to replace while we have it in for windshield film. He got hit over the head because, be honest with everybody, I wasn't real happy about this. So he's not going to get a friendly price from me. And so he says to me, he's like, well, it's supposed to wear out, but this shop, they just did shoddy work. I said, no, they didn't. They did $6,000 worth of work on a huge van that they covered every inch. I said, so that's not correct. Now, I know a lot of you wouldn't have said it to him this way, but, to be honest with you, we were already working on the car. He has nowhere else to go for the windshield film. We're going to replace it, rip off the old piece. So I wasn't real thrilled with this guy because he kind of played a different type of individual on the phone. When I spent all this time with them, I mean, we got him into the hyperCLEAN line of products. I told him how to clean things. I showed him how to clean. I went the extra mile with this guy. So there was a little bit, I wasn't real happy about the quality of individual I was dealing with at that moment. And so as we started to look around the van, I'm like, dude, the rest of this stuff's going to have to be replaced. That's going to have to be replaced. That's going to have to be, look at the edges there. That's going to start to lift. His confusion was he thought about value. I don't want to pay the 10 to do it right, which, by the way, I told him all this was going to happen, which he remembered. When I pointed out the fenders, I said, look, they didn't wrap the edge on the fenders, so now that part's lifting. When I told you about our bid, it was that we were going to wrap all of these trouble areas because you were going to be in the woods, you were going to be in state parks, you were going to be in dirty areas. I told you about this. Do you remember, John? He goes, yes, I do remember. I said, so the 6,000 was to slap it on there. The 10 was to actually do quality work that was going to last you 5 to 7 years, unless you took on some damage from a tree or something like that ripped the PPF. But you went for the cheaper option. Well, they gave me a better price. I said, well, why didn't you take it back to their to get the fenders fixed? Well, they went out of business. I said, okay. I said, hey, man, why didn't you come back to me after you got that bid and talk to me about it? Because that's what a quality individual would have done. I have no problem with somebody price shopping, but a quality individual would have called me and said, hey, man, I don't really know what's happening here. Can you help me out? How did I get a 6,000 bid and a 10,000 bid? And I would have been happy to bring him into my office and walk them through exactly the difference. Here's the funny thing. Just in 4 or 5 pieces that we know we're going to have to replace, the 6,000 he paid plus what he's going to have to pay me to fix it, he's going to be at 11,500 and the whole car is not going to be fixed. Not going to be fixed. He's still going to have other pieces that are going to sporadically start to fail that he's going to have pulled off. He's going to be probably roughly, I think we did the math, not with him there, but after the fact, he's going to be somewhere between 13,500 and 15,000 to fix this. Yeah, because some of this stuff you can't get to, right? You're going to have to climb on the roof. You're going to have scaffolding. You're going to have exceptional knife skills to get some of this stuff that's way out of reach and all this other stuff. But that's why the word value is really hard, because in his mind as a consumer, value was saving 40%.
Okay, so let's put it into a little bit different perspective. Because that's big numbers there. Those are big numbers. Let's put it in perspective of something that you and I have questioned for many years: buying cheap wheel cleaner and having to, there's people that publicly boast, and this is what we find hilarious. Hey, we're buying cheap wheel cleaner from a car wash company, and it's cheap. Okay. But what are you doing to those wheels? Because you're admitting that you're buying it from a car wash company. Let's go to the very core basis. Hold on a second. X car wash company. Just clarify that. My bad. So let's go to the very basis of detail, making sure that I'm detailed in what I do.
Yep.
Can you be detailed when you're using a value based cleaner, which is what people boast about? Value of this cleaner, or dilute this, or I can dilute this. I'm value versus, listen, I've got a Jeep with black wheels. We've seen other vehicles come in that are much newer and to the exact point of the guy that you talked about when you were here. I did a video where I showed this guy's car and I go, this guy I know goes through car washes because he doesn't use a quality service to clean his car.
Yep.
I got black wheels on my Jeep that are much older than his. Mine are still black.
Yep.
His were gray.
Well, anybody can go check out our YouTube channel today. It's the 29th of January. We put out $185,000 Porsche Cayenne with aftermarket wheels that were burnt and they're not fixable, right? Unless they're going to strip them down and repowder coat them. All because of a value wheel cleaner, right? And this is what happens, right? When a word gets hijacked, man, it just is what it is, right? In American culture, value is around cheap. And that's why I've always struggled to tell people and explain to people how to bring value to their clients, because the word's been hijacked. It just has. And so are you going to do quality work? Because, diluting a degreaser to spray it all over the interior is not quality work. It just isn't.
When does somebody decide, right? Like I started to think about that. When did I stop buying great value green beans and start buying the quality stuff? Like,
Yeah.
Is that a how much money did I start making? Is that
Yeah, it could be.
is that a or is it money, or is it time? And when you get tired of picking out the stems,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you get tired of seeing a burnt rim.
when you
You
get
get tired of seeing a
tired of the
dirt door panel
crap,
that doesn't look quite right. It happened for me, I would say, pretty quickly. By most people's account, by the time I hit about 25, I had really honed in from a detailing perspective. I was already brought up with quality stuff. 3M was the only stuff we used early in my career. I think that's most of us that have been around this long. So it was pretty high quality. But as I started to venture out and do things on my own, even at my house or whatever, it's easy to fall into, well, this will work good enough. This will work well enough. And what people don't realize is even amongst wheel acid, there was more safe wheel acid than others. I know you know
absolutely,
that. I mean,
absolutely.
even when people talk about wheel acid, it's like, oh, it'll burn your face off. Yeah, but there were others that didn't. There were others that companies really put some thought into and said, hey, we're kind of tired of seeing people get sick from our stuff. We're tired of people, burning every rim they touch. Like, so even amongst something as harsh as wheel acid, there were companies that took enough care to say, how can we formulate this to the best of our ability? We realize it's a harsh chemical. How do we do that? And there were companies that did, right? I mean, even McGuire's, who just recently, I think, got out of the acid business because of shipping concerns out of California, they had a wheel acid that was pretty damn safe.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't perfectly safe, but compared to 90 other ones on the market, they did a good job. And other companies did as well. That's just one that came to my top of my head. And so I think the thing that I want to get away from is getting business owners to stop thinking about how do I bring value, even though we all kind of know what that means to some extent, is that how do I do quality things for my customers? How do I provide them quality? If I provide enough quality, then I'm going to attract a quality individual, right? I'm not trying to provide them a value of saving money. I'm trying to provide them a quality service. So, in a quality service is hey, do I have the proper equipment to complete the job? Right? If you're using your customer's power, we've had this conversation before, that's not a high quality thing. I get it, man. Some people are just getting their start. But that's why I've always said, put your start off a couple months, save the money, and get a generator to get you through. Right? Don't use their water. Buy a water tank, buy a pressure water. I get it, man. Money's tight. I do understand that. But you're just better off toughing it out for 3 or 4 months at the job you're working and starting your business 3 or 4 months later than going out into the system being a low quality service, because you're only going to get low quality people. And so, how do I provide people with quality? And now I have a customer that's probably going to learn about a $9,000 lesson at the end of this, because he tried to find value in the way he saw it, which he has every right to do as a consumer. What he doesn't realize about that word value is that 40% he saved is going to cost him 50% more than the proper way of doing it originally.
Okay, here's the flip side. Is a lot of people are going to go, right, but just because you pay more for something, does that make it better?
Oh, I agree with that. I
I
agree
think
with that.
it is a question that you absolutely should ask on a regular basis. And let me say this, it's something that internally inside of our family, we're asking.
Yep.
And it's something that everybody should ask. And here's the little game that we're playing. You know, we got tired, and fruit's a thing for us. We like good fruit.
Same.
Well, granted, from where they come from as well as for me. I love sugar, but I've always wanted natural sugar from fruit.
Yeah.
I've been a fruitaholic. I love fruit.
Yeah. Same for me.
Yeah. Where do you get the best quality fruit? I've always tried to just go and buy the fruit, or maybe buy at a better place. We've tried this experience, and right now we're batting 100. You buy the fruit tray.
Oh, I
What?
like that idea.
It's insane. But if you go to a party, what do you always go? Wow, this fruit's God. Oh man, this fruit's great.
Yeah, that's a great
Oh,
idea.
it's a great fruit. Well, we have actually stopped buying regular fruit, and we're paying more for fruit. But you know what we're not doing? We're not throwing fruit away.
Yeah, you're not like, oh man, these grapes suck.
Bingo. And or
Yeah.
how many of those grapes in the bag do you get to eat, and then you
Yeah.
have to throw the other ones away?
Yeah, I'm
Right?
way
Like
picky about grapes. If they're like soft at all, I'm out, dude. Just count me out. Throw
you'll
them away.
find this, at least what we're finding in this experience is it's going from grapes to pineapple to, you can go blueberries. The blueberries inside of a fruit tray are this big.
Yeah.
The ones you get over there in the big bunch of them, they're
But if you
tiny.
really wanted to go the highest quality, you know what you'd have to do. What's in season, what's local, you'd have to source that. I mean, the next level to this would be that. So as you chase higher quality, you learn things about past decisions you've made that you wish you could change, but none of us can change it, so you just chalk it up. But if you're always trying to get to a higher quality, and we're making a silly thing about fruit here, I understand that.
Oh, it ain't silly for us. It's
Yeah,
serious
yeah,
business.
but it's just something, right? It shows something of, hey, I'm going in for a higher quality. Same can go for anything. Hey, I want a higher quality wheel cleaner. Then I got to go on the hunt. And yeah, I may get burned a time or two. Guys get really caught up, and I think I've been guilty of this. You've probably been guilty of this, of paralysis by analysis, because you might get burned. Every time I thought I might get burned, I really never got burned. You know what I mean? Nobody ever burnt me on anything that.
Well, you're talking about wheel cleaners and then burning. So clarify exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, like, you know, people are worried about paying more for something because they're like, well, what if I don't get the value out of that? What if they burn me? What if I go to a dealership and I get burned? I don't know, man. I bought at this point hundreds of cars. I've never been burned. Have I had some things I've had to fix? Have I had some things that have come up I wish didn't? Yeah, but did I get burned? No. It's a mindset thing. I think we can go back to our 2023, podcast where I was really heavy on mindset. Where's your mindset? And this is a mindset thing. Some guys have no problem paying $500 for sneakers, but they want to pay $12 for a wheel cleaner that they can dilute 1,000 to 1. Well, wait a minute, man. On one side of your life, you're telling me you're all into quality. On this other side, you're not into quality. And this other side is how you get to buy those quality shoes more and more, right? I had an interesting conversation here in Phoenix today where some of the highest profile shops are doing some of the cheapest work. People don't realize that. Let me say that again. Some of the highest end shops that you see on Instagram will charge the least amount of money to do a full front PPF. They'll charge the least amount of money to do tint. The highest quality shops, the guys that are making the most bang for their buck, the most profit at the end of the year, are not the guys doing that. And we have all kinds of stories, Marty, of guys that are involved in the hyperclean world that are making insane profits, and they've actually spent more money on chemicals. They've bought a higher quality coating. They've done higher quality things, and they look up at the end of the year and go, I've never made this much money. We have more people now when I visit down here that are in business with us that say the word, I don't even think about my competition anymore. I did 2 years ago. That's a freeing feeling.
And
And
it's
guess what
interesting.
they're focused on? Quality.
And it's interesting, right? We go back to the very part of the episode where I'm buying something that is of high quality and I find the right thing that I want for me. And what I say, I'm buying. I'm in. This is a high quality thing that fits for me. And what am I now going to do? Buy and buy and buy and buy. There is something that happens when you find what you want in quality and you go, this fits for me. Everything just goes right and you have that
Yep.
connection. There is something magical about quality of the service and quality of the person that is buying. And when they match together, wow, that
It's the best thing you do. That's the best experience you'll ever have in business.
just not only, I mean, you say business as, yeah, you're right, as business, but also consumer.
Yeah.
And so that many times people think business, they go, oh, that's a business owner. No, business meaning consumer and seller. The whole interaction together, when it revolved around quality, it is almost magical. And you feel a connection that you don't know how you're going to go anywhere else. And
Yep.
that's why you keep going back and you constantly want this.
Yeah. I think what we're saying in our house is, are you ever really that happy when an Amazon package shows up? Or is it just like it showed up? But we've all bought that high quality t-shirt. We've all bought that high quality knife or that high quality whatever you're into that came from this place that wasn't something like Amazon. And when it got to your doorstep, you're like, oh man, there's times that I'll look on my kitchen table and there's like 5 packages from Amazon nobody's opened. The times we get the packages with something high quality from a high quality company, they're never sitting on the table. They're like this. They can't open it fast enough. Like we got these toys that are made from all wood that come to our kids every month on a subscription service. Those never make it to the table. The kids are running at them. The parents are running at them. Let's see what they sent us this month. But they got 50 toys from Amazon and 5 of them are sitting there unopened on the table. So you don't have to take my word for it. You can look around your house. You get that one special thing you've been waiting on from a high quality company. I guarantee you it never gets sat down. That's going right to the table with a knife. Let's open this baby up and see what's in there.
So the way to progress through life, like we said earlier, there actually becomes a part of success, a byproduct of success actually is what you just said. You begin to desire, and more of your life revolves around quality. Man, wow, a lot for us to take in on an auto detailing podcast.
Yeah.
Wow, deep, great. Hey, maybe you should go to Phoenix again. We'll see you there, what, next week? You want to go or what?
Hey, we have some exciting things for hyperclean, guys. This
Yeah.
trip is really important to our company. We got a lot of things, and I wish Marty, you ever wish you could share this? Like, that's the problem. Is some of this stuff is like just in the works, and this is an exciting trip. This is what you kind of work for, and we've got some great meetings with some great people, and I'm always excited to come down here. And hey, it's 85 and sunny, so
Listen,
you
dude, the
know.
rest of us, we're not hating you too much. We had 65 and sunny in
Oh, there you
Oklahoma
go.
in the middle of the end of January. So listen, we're not hating you too much over here, but
Yeah,
have a great
awesome.
week, man. And we'll see you next week.
All right, guys.